Hi, this is Shterna Ginsberg. It's Chaf Hei Iyar, and we are deep into Sfiras HaOmer, counting every day, making each day count as we get ready to receive the Torah on Shavuos. The story is told of a guest who came to spend the night at a small inn. The innkeeper welcomed the guest, gave him some food, showed him his room, and then went to sleep. In the middle of the night, the innkeeper heard strange noises coming from the guest's room. It was a small inn, and the walls were very thin. He jumped up and listened more carefully, and it was clear to him that the guest was jumping around the room. After a minute or two, the room became quiet again, and the innkeeper went back to sleep. But he was a light sleeper, and soon enough he woke up again to the sound of feet thumping on the floor. Why was the guest dancing in the middle of the night? And this happened a few times. In the morning, before the innkeeper had a chance to ask the guest about the dancing, the guest came rushing over to the innkeeper, and he said, "Where did you get the clock that's in the room I was sleeping in? Please tell me." The innkeeper shrugged his shoulders. He was so tired, and he said, "Why does it even matter? It's a simple clock. There are hundreds of clocks like this everywhere. Every house has a clock like this." The innkeeper looked at the guest and asked him again for his name. "What did you say your name was again?" And it turns out the guest was a tzaddik. His name was Rabbi Yisachar Dov Ber of Radashitz. And the tzaddik pushed forward with his question to the innkeeper. He said, "Please, I must know. Please tell me where you got this clock. There must be a story about it." The innkeeper thought about it some more, and then he remembered that years ago, someone stayed in the inn for a while, and since he was poor, he didn't have any money to pay for his stay, he paid with this clock that he took out of his bag. Years ago, before this clock was given to the innkeeper, it had belonged to the tzaddik, the Chayze of Lublin. As soon as Reb Beryl of Radashitz heard this, his face lit up and he said, "Oh, that explains everything, of course." And now it was the innkeeper's turn to be curious, and he said, please tell me what this is about." And the tzaddik of Reb Beryl of Radashitz said, "Look, a regular clock has a very sad tone. Every hour that passes by is another hour gone by, another hour lost, another hour of getting older, another hour closer to the end of life. But this clock, it's different. With this clock, the sound made it clear that every hour that passes is one bit closer to the coming of Mashiach and the Geula. And all through the night, every time this clock sounded the hour, I was so happy to hear the sound. I was so happy to hear that we are 1 hour closer to Mashiach. I couldn't sleep. I got up and I danced." What do we hear in the sound of our clocks? How do we mark the passing of time? How much do we value time? It's easy to forget the preciousness of every hour. As women, we're so busy. It's easy to not even notice the moments or the hours passing by. The message of Sfiras HaOmer is not just about counting every day as it passes by. The way we count, we remind ourselves something very important. We remind ourselves that every day, as we go forward, we're carrying the days with us. We don't say, this is the first day, this is the second, this is the 20th, the 21st. If we would do that, it would be showing that each day exists as its own separate entity. Today is the 40th. Yesterday was the 39th. Each day would sound like it's its own piece in the puzzle. But we don't count like that. Instead, we say, today is 40 days. Today we are carrying all the days that came before it. We're holding them in our hands. Today we're riding on all the days that came before this one. Today is not just another step in a process. It's a rung in a ladder that we're climbing. By the time we get to this day, by the time we get to the 40th step in the ladder, we are carried by all the days that came before this one. We start this day from the top of all the others. Knowing this is empowering, and it also reminds us of our huge responsibility. Every day matters. Every day counts. Let's make it a strong one. When I was going with my family to my father's levaya, we were in a big rush at the last minute. We were planning on jumping out of the car the second we got to the block where the levaya was being held. As we were getting closer, my husband told my boys, "Tuck in your tzitzis, tuck in your tzitzis." And suddenly the whole car was filled with a sense of urgency. Quickly, tuck in your tzitzis. Of course, I had no idea what that was about. So I asked my husband, and he said, at a levaya, we tuck in our tzitzis. We don't let them show because it's like teasing the niftar. The niftar cannot do mitzvahs anymore, so we don't want to show off our ability to do mitzvahs. We don't want to flaunt it. Wow. I was blown away by the sensitivity of halacha. And more than that, I suddenly had a renewed appreciation for the mitzvahs that we do every single day. Each mitzvah is so precious, even a mitzvah that we're only doing in a passive way, even a mitzvah that's just about what we're wearing. We put it on once in the morning and we forget about it, but each moment that we're wearing it, it's a mitzvah. And it's so precious that we don't want to show it off. We don't want to flaunt it at a levaya. Right now, Hashem is giving each of us this day. He's giving us this hour, this moment, and it's a gift. It's like a blank slate, a clean, open space that's entirely ours. What are we going to do with this moment? How are we going to make it count? How are we going to make this a strong rung on the ladder that we are climbing? Let's set the ringer on our clocks to be the sound of the Chayz of Lublin. Let every hour remind us that we are this much closer to Mashiach. Let's fill each hour, each moment with mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. Let's make it a meaningful moment that counts. And let's dance. Let's be happy, knowing that we are doing our part to bring all of Klal Yisrael closer to the time when there will be no more levayas, no more poverty, no more tears of pain and sadness. And this Shavuos will be able to fulfill all of the Torah in the most complete way with the Beis HaMikdash together with Mashiach.